So, hi everyone. If you've just joined us, my name is Patrick Cosgrove, and I'm the Student Recruitment Officer at Mary Immaculate College. And this evening, I'm going to be in conversation with Dr. Lisha O'Sullivan, who is head of the Department of Reflective Pedagogy and Early Childhood Studies at Mary Immaculate College. And we're going to be talking about the BA in Early Childhood Care and Education. So thanks very much, Lisha, for taking the time to join us this evening. I suppose maybe for people who might know much about the course or about the college, do you want to start off first, maybe give a general overview of the BA in Early Childhood Care in Education at Mary Immaculate?
Sure, I'd be delighted to, Pat. So the BA in Early Childhood Care and Education is an exciting and challenging four-year programme. I suppose it's one of our flagship programmes here in the Faculty of Education, and it's for students who are interested in pursuing a career working with children birth to 6 in a range of early learning and care contexts. So the programme has been running in MIC since 2003, so we have a very strong tradition of excellence in providing early childhood care and education. The programme is underpinned by most up-to-date international and national research and developments. And I suppose there are 6 key strands which permeate the programme, and they are historical, philosophical and policy context, child health and well-being, child development, curriculum and pedagogy, professional practice, and the early years teacher as researcher.
Okay, yeah, that's a good overview there. I think for anyone that might have been unsure about what the whole course was about. I suppose those points you mentioned probably are reflected in what students would be studying, Lisha. So, I suppose if you're a first year student, maybe starting in September time, would you talk a little bit about maybe the kind of modules that you might be studying in first year first of all, and then maybe later on as you move to second, third, and fourth year of the program?
Yes, but our students get to study a range of different and very exciting modules. So we would have modules, for example, in child, family and community, more sociology modules, modules which look at areas such as cultural and linguistic diversity. And then we have modules which look more at management, child health and well-being, child development and educational psychology as well. So it's really broad, and I suppose our students get a chance to look at young children, their learning and development from a very much a holistic perspective. So when our students come in first year, they'll be looking at modules such as language development, the role of play and development, child, family and community 1, where they look at the importance of families and communities on young babies and young children's learning and development. I suppose also students look at pedagogy in their first year. And of course, in first year and throughout the programme, there is a very strong emphasis on practice. So in the second semester of year 1, our students will have their first practice placement, working with children from birth to 3. And throughout the 4 years on the programme, students will get opportunities to work with children right from babies up to children who are 5 and 6.
Brilliant, yeah. We might delve into that a little bit more in a while, just about the off-campus side of it. Just a few things you mentioned there, Lisha. I suppose, what about for students, maybe if they come in, for example, would you just explain maybe what pedagogy means, just if you're coming from secondary school, they mightn't be too clear about what exactly that is.
Yes, I suppose pedagogy really is all about teaching. So in the early years, we have 2 curriculums. We have one curriculum framework, Ashter, and then we have a quality framework, which is called Shielta. So I suppose through students' time on the programme, we work with both of those programmes so that our students really can develop all the knowledge and understanding and skills they need to provide high quality programmes to the children that they'll be working with in earlier settings.
Brilliant, yeah. And you also mentioned education psychology, Lisha. What kind of things would you be looking at there as a student?
Well, I suppose one of the main things might be that they would be looking at maybe things like motivation, or like behaviour, and I suppose really looking at how the very different ways that children do learn and develop, and then how, as an early childhood teacher, we can use what we know about learning and development to make sure our programs are interesting for children and really respond to the how of learning.
Yeah, no, that sounds fascinating, to be honest. What about for maybe if you had an interest maybe in special education needs? Is there any areas, modules that would cover that area if that was something you're particularly interested in?
Yes, well, again, that would come into a lot of different modules, such as you mentioned there, the educational psychology and the child development. Of course, again, those modules on curriculum and pedagogy or teaching would focus on diverse learners, but we also have a module on the program specifically on inclusion in the early years.
Okay, yeah, so here you can actually, if that was something you were quite interested in, there's plenty of it covered in the program. I suppose leading on from that, then you've kind of given a great overview there of the modules that are available and the kind of areas that you'll be studying. I suppose following on from that, probably the next question many students might have is how will I be assessed? Would you like to talk a little bit about that, maybe?
Yeah, I suppose on the program, we appreciate that there are lots of different ways to represent all of our learning. So we respond to that in the types of assessment we provide. So obviously we would have some end of semester examinations, but we have a broad range of continuous assessments. So students would be engaged in demonstrations of practical work, in presentations. Students would engage in those perhaps on an individual basis, but also opportunities are provided for working in pairs and working in small groups for assessment as well. Then students would engage with essays and with reflective journals, because we're very, I suppose, keen on developing our students as what we call reflective practitioners who can, you know, go out and experience working in an early learning setting and come back in then and reflect on their own learning. And I suppose then going back to placement, placement would be assessed through professional development portfolio and also through assessment of practice from visits of placement supervisors to practice settings. So there's a very broad range there in terms of how we assess.
Yeah, that's great. So there's lots of different ways, I suppose, students can pick up marks. They're not dependent just on exams alone or on assignments. There's quite a mix there that they can avail of and get marks on. Obviously, you mentioned the placement there, which is obviously a very important part of the program. Would you just expand on that a little bit more? What kind of placement, off-campus placements do students go on, and how is it organised? How does it work?
Yeah, well, our students all experience placement working with children from birth to 3 and then working with preschool age children. So in first year, our students work with birth to 3. Then in second year, they work with preschool children. And then in fourth year, they work with birth to 3 again and preschool age children. So those placements I've just spoken about, we support students sourcing them, and if it's a particular placement, you need to go to work with a specific age group. What we do have in third year, and you mentioned it already, Pat, is the off-campus semester and the off-campus placement. So as part of that, that is the first semester of third year. Our students are on a 12-week placement, and they have more choice and flexibility for those 12 weeks. So students can choose to work in an early learning and care setting because they might particularly like working with preschool children or with babies and toddlers, or they can choose to work somewhere related to ECCE. It might be an early intervention setting, or it could be junior and senior infants in a primary school, or it might be a special school setting, or maybe again, you know, a hospital context for hospital play services, or maybe it's working with a childcare committee, so that they can broaden out their I suppose their experience during that off-campus placement.
Okay, so I suppose, yeah, it's a great off-campus placement. I suppose it really provides students with, I suppose, basic experience they can put on their CV, as well as having the theory. They have kind of practical experience in a variety of settings too, which is obviously great to have. I suppose we looked at the off-campus placement. There is a study abroad option as well, Lisa. So where can students, it's not compulsory, but where can students go and how does it work?
Yeah, at the moment, our students can either go on placement to a number of destinations in Europe and to North America. So in Europe, at the moment, we have partnerships with universities in Norway, Denmark, and in Spain. And there are a number of partner universities all across North America. So for students who are interested, what we do is we work with them and with our counterparts in the host universities to select a program or modules that, you know, that will be interesting to the students and I suppose relevant to their studies here. And some of those study abroad programs incorporate some opportunities to go out and work in early learning settings as well in those other countries, which can be a real valuable opportunity to find out how early childhood care and education operates in another country. I suppose in addition to the study abroad, we also have a number of work abroad opportunities for our students. So students who may wish to go abroad but may not want to study in university for the semester can apply for work abroad placements in Germany, Italy and in Spain, where we partner them up with an early childhood setting in one of those countries, and they go in and work every day just like they would if they were here in Ireland.
Yeah, it sounds like there's some brilliant opportunities there. I suppose particularly just maybe getting experience of another early childhood care system, particularly Scandinavian countries who probably would be seen as some of the best countries, have some of the best systems in Europe anyway. So I suppose there's great opportunities there for students.
Yes.
And it's just for one semester, isn't it, Lisa?
Yes,
and that's in
just for one semester.
Yeah. Okay, very good. And I suppose a lot of people maybe who mightn't be that familiar with the early childhood care and education degree, I suppose they might be thinking of job prospects and employment after. What kind of areas do people tend to find work in after, Lisa? Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, obviously, a lot of our graduates work as early childhood teachers in early learning and care services. They work, as I said, early childhood teachers as managers. Many graduates go on to open their own early years settings. I suppose we've also had graduates who have, you know, secured employment with the Department of Education and Skills, working as preschool inspectors. We have graduates who have gone on to work with Better Start, the early years quality development service. Some students, again, might be more interested in the policy advocacy side of early childhood, so they may go on and work with, you know, childcare committees and with other advocacy agencies, with family and community support services. So again, I think through the 3 years or the 4 years on the program, students will, you know, they'll learn where, you know, where their passion lies, and there are a lot of opportunities depending on where that is. Obviously as well, there's a lot of opportunities for progressing on to postgraduate study. You know, a lot of our students may not go on immediately, but down the line they go on and they can study in areas such as occupational therapy, speech and language, play therapy, early intervention, the professional master of education. And then, you know, a lot of our students are very keen to continue engaging in research, because research, as I said earlier, is a core focus of the program, and our students undertake research methods and dissertation modules while they're on the program with us, so they can go on to study for a master's or PhDs by research. And we also have graduates of the BACC program who, you know, contribute to the program now in Mary I, lecturing and supervising placement and undergraduate research, and again, graduates who work as tutors on the LINK program, which Mary I run with Early Childhood Ireland and Maynooth University as tutors on, as I said, the Leadership for Inclusion in the Early Years program. So again, there are a lot of different opportunities there in, you know, further and higher education as well.
Yeah, fantastic. Sounds like there's a lot of different, I suppose, a variety really of possible career paths that you could choose after it. and different areas you could possibly branch into. You were mentioning some of the possible areas people have gone on maybe to do further study. Obviously, we have the PME in Mary Mackillop College. It's a professional Masters of Education for people who already have a third level degree and want to be a primary school teacher. It would probably be a little bit of an interest, but some people might be thinking of going that route. And you also mentioned occupational therapy as well. Would that be an area where many graduates might possibly go into in the future, maybe work for a while and then maybe branch into it?
Yeah, I think, you know, again, through the experience here on the program, students will develop interest. And again, when they're on that off campus is, you know, a really important opportunity. If you know, if you're thinking like that, maybe primary teaching is something I might think about down the line, you have that opportunity to go and to work in a, you know, an early primary context and to find out a little bit more about that. So yeah, there are, you know, I'm a graduate of a similar program myself, and you know, I've always really valued the opportunities and the possibilities that, you know, a degree in early childhood can give you.
Yeah. So lots of different possible opportunities for you and different postgraduate options that you could avail of further down the line or straight after your degree if it was something you were interested in. I suppose for a student that's starting the course, let's say in September this year, Lisa, what kind of advice would you give them, you know, for someone that's coming in straight from secondary school, and just something that might help them ease that transition from secondary school to third level? What kind of advice would you have for them?
Yeah, well, I suppose the first thing I would say is that we're all here to support all students make that transition. And I think, you know, everyone in the MIC community is, you know, really approachable. So that's the first thing. I suppose really engagement. I think, you know, it's really important to, you know, engage with the program, with the lectures, with the tutorials, and with your lecturers. We have a team of incredibly committed program lecturers here in early childhood, and you know, they're, you know, as I said, very approachable and have huge expertise in the area as well, and are highly research active. And you know, consequently, all our program content is really, you know, underpinned by up-to-date research. So, you know, engage with the lectures and the tutorials and with your lecturers, because that is the best way to learn. And I suppose, again, engage with all the support staff, the education office, student academic administration, and of course the students union. And you know, if you have a question, ask. You know, as program leader for early childhood, you know, I would encourage anyone, you know, if you're starting, it can be new, it's different, and you know, if it's a question I can't ask, I know who to ask. So you know, always get in touch if you have any query whatsoever. And I suppose, as well as, you know, engaging with the academic program, you know, it's hugely important to become a part of the MIC community. And there, you know, there's a fantastic you know, range of societies and clubs there, and it's a great way to kind of, you know, continue to build relationships with people on your program, but to get to know students you know, on other programs as well.
Okay, yeah, I think you've just given some great advice there, Lisha. We've touched on that in some of the previous sessions where I suppose we've advised incoming first years, you know, get involved with clubs, societies, you know, and do approach your lecturers. If you have questions, don't be afraid to ask. That's what people are there for. We have a whole range of different student support services that are there to help students make that transition from secondary school to third level as well. Someone just actually put in a quick question there on the screen. I might just read it out, see if we can answer it. From Jess: hi, would you need to take up major subjects for doing early childhood care and education? I'm not quite clear exactly what you mean by major subjects for that, Jess. I suppose if you're coming from secondary school, there's no particular entry requirements, just a regular entry requirements, Lisa, anyway, isn't it? So
maybe is it about, yeah, I'm just wondering, would it be about our modules? I suppose most of our modules are what we call core modules. So again, I suppose, you know, all students would be taking, you know, if you're on the program, you have to take all the core modules. But what we do have in fourth year is students have an elective option where they can choose to specialize in a particular area. And again, areas such as research for our dissertation, students have more choice and flexibility as well, in terms of they can, you know, as they go into year 3 and 4, they can select an area of particular interest in which they want to research in more depth.
Yeah,
Maybe
yeah,
that might
that
be
was.
it.
Yeah, no, that was it. I think they've clarified now there. Yes, it was modular, so hopefully that has answered the question. Well, I think we've kind of run out of time anyway for this evening. I'd just like to thank Lisa again for giving up her time this evening. I think she's given a great overview of the BA in Early Childhood Care and Education at Mary Immaculate College, and I think she's just given a lot of detail there about not only what's the kind of modules on the program, but the kind of assessment and all the various areas that potential students will be covering if they're starting the program with us in the coming months. So thanks again very much to Lisa. The next session in our series will be this Thursday, the 25th of June. It'll be at 7 p.m. again. And on Thursday, I'll be in conversation with Professor Michael Breen, who's the Dean of the Faculty of Arts, and we'll be discussing the Bachelor of Arts program at Mary Immaculate College. So thanks again to everyone for tuning in this evening. Thanks again to Lisa, who was very informative, gave a lot of information this evening, and hopefully we'll see you all again on Thursday. So thanks everyone again, and enjoy the rest of your evening. Thanks very much, Lisa.
Bye.
Yeah, bye-bye.